National League, you know?
New York
the
Mets.
Yeah,
All right,
it's always baseball.
Let's get this started before we get carried away.
All right.
So then we'll riff-raff and whatnot. I don't want to sound like an ass doing this.
I don't know. So what do you want to do?
All right, well, welcome.
Are you taping now?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
yes,
you're taping
yeah.
now.
Welcome.
Well,
you've seen him now. My first guest is, he's the announcer of the program. He's also a building administrator down at a middle school somewhere here.
I was.
Yeah, you were formerly.
Yeah.
Here's Dr.Cresci, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Applause. There's nobody here. It's Friday, 10 in the morning.
10 in the morning that we're taping this. It's the last day before break for the kids.
Yes.
Before the winter break.
Mm-hmm.
And
listen, you're retired. You still sound like an administrator.
Once an administrator, always an administrator. Things don't change.
Yeah, I know it.
Well, I'm not an administrator anymore, but I'm a Mets fan.
Well,
Still a Mets fan. I have my Mets thing on. We have your Mets jersey here.
We this jersey is a 1999 Robin Ventura Russell Athletic Authentic jersey before Majestic started to manufacture the jerseys for the teams. Russell Athletic used to do it for the Mets. He's had different kind of people do it. Mm-hmm. Like I know they used to have AIS at one point manufacture the jerseys. Then they had Rawlings do it before at one point in the early '90s because I have one of those jerseys. And then they went league-wide Majestic. So I found this one on eBay. Actually, I didn't have to pay much at all for it. Actually, it's authentic. It's Robin Ventura, one of my favorite players. I miss him. He would fit great in this his new team, I think, because he would be the power bat for the lineup,
well,
essentially?
There's something going out now as to who would you trade to get Troy Tulowitzki? And I think Syndergaard is the name that came up.
No.
I don't know.
No,
do you really?
No.
Do you trade great pitching prospects for a shortstop?
No. Don't do that. No. The thing is,
leave Wilmer Flores there.
Yeah, he's fine. Or what they can do is you can have. If you're gonna get a shortstop, sign Stephen Drew for a cheap amount of money. Then put him with Wilmer in platoon. Stephen Drew's a lefty bat. Wilmer's a right-handed bat, so you can just interchange them both. They're both decent shortstops. Instead of having to worry about the large contract of Tulowitzki, his injury-prone problems, and you're not losing a stud pitcher because it has been proven. And we're not.
Pitching's the name of the game.
Yeah, we're not blowing smoke up this guy's butt. This guy's the real deal.
Yeah.
He is. He pitched in the Futures game. I think it was 2 years ago, or even last year. The guy was closing. He hit 95 consistently, and his breaking pitches, I think, had more drop than the abyss. So, I don't understand why they want to deal him for Tulowitzki. That doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't really. I don't understand.
No,
give him Dylan G, give him John Neese, even give them Wilmer Flores if they want him. But we can get someone to.
I don't know. You have to wonder if Dylan G is enough for trade bait.
Well, he's 28.
It's not enough for trade bait. Trade bait to get
Texas Rangers wanted him.
Yeah, but to get Tulowitzki, no, I don't know about that.
Well, then again, the Mets are the ones that have the leverage because Colorado wants to deal him, and the Mets want him, but they know that they can keep their prized prospect.
Yeah, I would not trade Tulowitzki.
But
my opinion, that's a bad trade.
No. I mean, he's a solid ball player, and would I want him here? Sure, but for Syndergaard, that's not the price. It's kind of like they want King's ransom. There was a report. You see, the thing with the Mets is that all these other teams can trade for good ball players, but they send crappy players in return, like they just had the Will Myers trade. He got sent for, the two top prospects for San Diego, but Washington gave up nothing. And then after that, Tampa Bay pretty much got King's ransom, but it wasn't like what the Mets are going through at the point, because the teams will ask for King's ransom for the Mets, but they won't ask King's ransom for anyone else.
Ralph Kiner used to say, the best trades you make sometimes are the ones you don't make.
The ones you don't, yes.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think Sandy all the same.
No, he knows.
Yeah, all right, he traded R.A. Dickey. Mm-hmm. And people were complaining about that because he had just won the Cy Young.
Cy Young, yeah.
But I even knew, even though he had a great season 2 years ago, I knew that it was probably the right move. And look who we got in return.
Darno, Syndergaard, we got Syndergaard out of it. So what point is it?
You're not going to trade Syndergaard.
No.
You are not going to trade
That would be idiotic, especially if, like I said.
If Syndergaard comes up the dynamic could be, you could have 420-game winners.
Oh, no, without a doubt. No, you
And-
have Harvey, Wheeler, DeGrom, and Syndergaard. And Syndergaard has the stuff. Wheeler, we all know, has the stuff. DeGrom, for sure.
Yeah.
And Harvey,
Rookie
we
of the
all
year.
know he's good. So it's kind of like Generation K, but with one more person without the injuries and the prima donnas, you know? Because surprisingly, I do remember that for some reason.
420-game winners, Eastern Division of the National League. That's what that spells.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That's certainly wild card.
Well, I mean, if you remember back in 2012 when they had Santana and Dickey,
Yeah.
when they weren't hitting as well as they should have, but they had those two anchor the top of the rotation. Then you had the last three guys perform halfway decent. Well, what do you know? The Mets were actually in contention for a long period of time before the bottom dropped out.
But they were at the end, clearly at the end of their.
No, of course, but
I mean, you had, if I remember correctly, when Santana pitched the no-hitter.
yes,
Dickey went
the next day
game,
he pitched a
he
shutout.
did a one-hitter.
One hit shutout.
So you had a no-hitter and a one-hitter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they were at the prime of their careers,
Well, then again, that was the prime of Dickey's career. Remember that?
well, his situation. He had a
was
renaissance because he found the knuckler.
Yeah, he found the knuckler.
Before that,
That guy couldn't pitch to save his life. Yeah.
you know. But
I wouldn't.
yeah, and they need obviously they need some hitters. Well, they brought in the fences a little bit.
Yeah, the right center field.
Right.
So they're a little bit in more like Shea
You
Stadium
know,
was.
David, yeah, very close to
Yeah,
the way
very close to Shea was. It's
It's
not
the way
the
they should have made it in the beginning.
Yeah, well, they should have made it, look like Shea somewhat too, because I don't know. The ballpark looks nice, but it just, how can I say? It doesn't really feel like my father was making this observation with me. We're watching the Met game back in '09 when they first opened the ballpark, and even the following year too. We made the same observation. We said, when you go to Shea Stadium, you knew that was the home of the Mets. If it was our dump, it was a dump, but it was our dump. But when you watch Citi Field, it's kind of like they're playing a really long road game, but they're wearing the home uniforms. It's like they're traveling for the longest period of time. So we were making this out like this isn't the Mets' home. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't feel like it now. I mean,
I think in time.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think bringing the fences in, I mean, the dimension should be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Shea Stadium was, I think, a fair park to both hitters and pitchers. Citi Field, when it opened in 2009, was clearly a pitcher's park.
Oh yeah. Well, you do know that ballpark was built around Jose Reyes, right?
Right.
Because they had the little nook and cranny in right center
Yeah,
field. The original fence that's far out.
It was triple.
Yeah, so it was easier for him to go and get because he would at Shea Stadium get constant balls to the gap. He was a gap hitter essentially,
Right.
so he would right center field, left center field. So since he was a left-handed hitter primarily, he was a switch hitter, but he used to hit a lot left-handed. The ball would always go towards the right where the scoreboard was at Shea
Right.
Stadium. He would always get those triples.
Right.
So. What ended up happening was, and you could see it when they built it too, because if you look at left field in the original dimensions,
like where the Mo zone is.
Yeah,
and
that little nook and cranny.
I mean,
there.
he is such a fast runner. He could have gotten a few inside the park.
Oh yeah, but where is he now? He's not in the Mets anymore.
No, he's not.
So much for that.
David Wright, he's got to have a big year.
Oh, yeah. He's got a. One thing I'm thinking about him is he needs to stop. By the way, I hope we're not boring anybody here. Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. I hope we didn't lose you. I'm here with
You
Dr.
get more
Cresci.
information here than SNY.
Yes, exactly. Especially during the off season, because
Yeah.
apparently the only thing you get is hot stove. That's it.
Yeah, we do a better job than hot stuff.
of course.
Yeah, we could do our own hot stuff.
Yeah, WOR. I'm talking to you.
SNY, I'm talking to you.
But before we move on, I just wanted to say about David Wright was.
You realize Gary, Keith, and Ron will probably see this.
No, of course, and then
they'll
they're gonna
say,
want.
who do these guys think they are?
Of
We got
course.
a retired administrator, David Letterman wannabe.
Yeah.
They put up a jersey here, and that's the retired administrator's walking around with an NY on his shirt. Come on, get out of here. Get them out of here.
I think they're gonna take this, rip it off of YouTube, and send this to the state police so they can arrest us.
The cutting room floor
Yes,
where the whole tape ends up on the floor.
Why am I in jail?
Yeah.
Because Gary, Keith, and Ron think you're a threat.
Yeah.
But going on.
And stop playing that SNY theme music too.
Oh my goodness! But speaking on David Wright, he needs to stop trying to be a power hitter. That's the thing. he is not a power hitter. My father and I used to talk about this all the time. And when he came up, he was a gap hitter. He was supposed to get on base, and he fit well in the dynamic of Beltran, Delgado, Cliff Floyd. He fit in with that dynamic because he wasn't going to be the power guy. Beltran had power, Delgado had power, Floyd had power. So he was sandwiched right in the middle of that, and he was able to get on base. That's why his 06 was so successful, his 07 was so successful. But since all those guys left, Delgado got hurt, Beltran was always injured, he had to, I guess, decide to be the power guy. So I think, and if you notice his swing, he has a bit of an uppercut now because he's trying to hit the ball out to left field, primarily. He doesn't go the opposite way anymore. That's his bread and butter. He has to stop that. And I wish we could send this to him because I'm sure he knows. David, we're talking to you. But I want to ask you, I know I did your retirement party.
Yes, you did. You did a great job.
And
Thank you again.
No, anytime, definitely. That was...
It's not any time.
No.
There's only one time. That's it.
Well, it's 10 in the morning. Excuse me for
Yeah.
having a brain fart. But I wanted to ask you, I know we corresponded with each other a couple more times, but how is retirement going? I'm not trying to ask this cliche question. I'm legitimately interested in how it's going.
I'm enjoying it. I get up in the morning. I have a friend of mine that texts me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, he just retired this week.
Ah.
And he was at the party.
Mm-hmm.
And with text.
If I think
it's Brian.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Brian, that I've known from elementary school. He would text me and ask me, "What's your routine?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, my routine right now is I get up in the morning, I pour myself a cup of coffee, and I run to the gym. I've been going to the gym, trying to lose some weight, and stay healthy, basically. Try to watch what I eat, although it's very difficult in the Christmas holidays.
Yeah.
My wife is hosting a party today at our house, and it's going to be a big old tray of lasagna. Boy, that's just what I need for my diet.
Of course.
But I've been going to the gym. I have a personal trainer, and I go to the gym 4 days a week normally for about an hour. I run home, take a quick shower. I feel much more energized. Other than that, I've been trying to clean some rooms out in the house. I'm still very active at my church in Brooklyn, Holy Innocents. I'm the organist and director of music there. I've been going to that church for 50 years.
Yeah, you've been going there longer than I've been born.
This is true. I've been going there a lot longer than a lot of people have gone. But I've been playing the organ there for 30 years now, and even though it's in Brooklyn, it's a little bit of a ride. I love going in there, and that's every Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes during the week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not working 7 out of 7 anymore. I did that for 38 years.
I can't even believe you were able to survive that.
Yeah.
Without and not to sound disrespectful, but I'm actually it's actually very, because usually people who work that kind of stressful environment tend to get a lot of stress attacks and primarily heart attacks. And seeing as how your job, I've witnessed it.
You've been there.
Yeah, I've been there, and I give
school side. Yeah,
I give you props for
not an easy job.
keeping yourself in proper condition to where you didn't croak from a heart attack.
Well, you know what? One of the activities that was really great at Shell School, and you know what I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
This we had our news program
WSMS
on WSMS TV. It was only about 10 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would get to the studio, the kids would have everything set up. Tricia Astorita, the station manager, trained the kids, did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And we play our little SNY theme there.
Well, it's on. This is on record now, but they're going to see that.
I know.
You've been served.
5 seconds. Yeah, you guys will get over it. And we do our little news program, and it was great. And the kids could see me in a different light, and I enjoyed doing that. We had some fun over the 5 years that I did it. I mean, one of the things I always remember is when I got pied on the air. And whipped cream all over it. And
the kids thought you were going to explode.
The kids, I purposely did not tell the kids that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I had one of the other administrators, who was Brian McGrath, who's over in Edison now, but he was a vice principal. And I had it set so he walks on the set, if you remember, and he pies me.
Mm-hmm.
It was pie day, so I got whipped cream all up, and the kids went crazy.
Yeah.
And it was. I would always like to poke fun at myself. And then some of the other things we did on SMS, you and I went to Citi Field. We did a remote from Citi Field. We did a remote from the studios of the
Pixel
11.
That was, yeah.
So we did a broadcast on the set of WPIX in New York. How great was that?
I remember doing that, and I first of all, I just want to say I went underdressed. I felt so bad. And then secondly, being in that desk, it's kind of intimidating in a sense. Because
it's the real thing.
Well, no, of course it is. I mean,
not
like,
that this is
no, trust me, no. This is just nickel and dime crap. Don't worry about it. You're fine. No, but when you're that's Broadway compared to this.
Yeah.
No, but you're sitting there where they have the lights just beaming out, and they're really hot. I can see why they keep studios very cold, because those lights are very hot, and they're pointing these actual cameras where I don't think they had anyone behind it. They were what were they? They were programmed by someone sitting off to the side.
Oh yeah, everything's robotic.
And
it's amazing.
And then what made it even worse? Well, I was nervous. Was that it was the trip with the group, and they were all staring at me, and they were staring at us actually. And when you're nervous and you're trying to get through something, especially if you're saying it verbatim, just right off the top of your head, because I didn't really come with anything prepared. It just kind of like
I had a whole script.
You had a whole script / screenplay that you could have turned into a movie and then into a Broadway play.
Well, that's the teacher in me, the planner.
Yeah.
We're in the business of planning.
Yeah.
Although the news director, Bill Carey, who was the news director at that time.
I gotta pick that up. Hold on. All right, just name drop there.
Funny. Bill Carey said, "If you had given me that, I would have put it on the teleprompter." And I hadn't thought. I really didn't think of that.
Well, yeah, they did have those cameras where they had the teleprompter.
That really would have looked cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, you did great, and who else spoke?
It was Irwin and Destiny.
It was nice, and all the kids were around there, and it was really a lot of fun.
There seems to be a little dynamic between the four of us for some reason. It seems like we seem to have this sort of connection that stems through WSMS, and I guess that shows your range as an administrator and as a person too, because.
That's what we're in business for. It's not just that, when I was administrator, when I was a teacher, it's not just hounding the kids to do their homework or as an administrator to, suspend them and all that. That's not what we're there for. We're there to mold character. It's all about character.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's, and then if they see you in a different light, they're always going to remember it. I mean, Destiny to this day tells me that all her years at Shell School, the one thing that she remembers was when I got pied. That was her favorite moment. And then I did the remote. I wish you were all with me. I was invited to the set of The Price is Right.
CBS Television.
We did a remote. I did a remote with George Gray, the announcer of The Price is Right, who said my tagline: "Don't depend on anyone to have a great day, because having a great day depends on you." Right in front of door number 3 on the set of The Price is Right at CBS Television City. I gotta tell you, that was my moment.
Oh no, you're SAG approved now. You were no NAG, not SAG. Screen Actors Guild is different.
Yeah,
NAB. Here we go.
NAB.
Listen to me, I can't even get my head straight.
He's good. I said, okay, you want to hire me? I'm here. Guess what? I'm still in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm not at CBS Television City.
Oh man! But the one thing I remember about one of the defining moments, at least for me, in terms of the whole Shell School WSMS thing, wasn't on the set of SMS, because I know I used to do that on occasion when I was in high school. It was harder for me when I got to college because I used to have to get early classes. But I didn't do it when I was in college. I apologize for that. But we did the one thing that stands out to me was I was the high school secondary school correspondent. Secondary school correspondent.
And that was a name I made up.
Yeah. There was one point in particular where, now if you didn't know by now, he kind of, I don't want to say rip, because then it just makes you look bad. He kind of models himself after Gary Cohen, the lead broadcaster.
Gary Cohen is the touchstone of broadcasters, I think.
Yeah, no, of course, baseball broadcasting.
Yes.
So you have this shtick down where you just seem to go on a roll at the snap of a finger. Now, at the time, I hadn't seen it yet, so I thought maybe you were just going to trudge through it. I didn't really see the maestro at work yet. Then I'm standing off to the side, and you're there, Destiny's there, and you guys still filmed in the hallway at this time, and immediately, as soon as the camera goes on, the music comes on. Dun, 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 dun. And a pleasant good morning to you, and you just went straight through.
Yeah, I'm sitting there, and I'm just acting nonchalant. The music is cute. Trish Esterida's pointing to me. I'm on the air. And a pleasant good morning to you, and welcome to the Samuel E. Shell Middle School, and our pledge and morning. And I go right into this thing, and you would be. I did that to.
Well, yeah,
I did that too to entertain you.
Yeah, no, of course, course. Well, you.
And then it's like even when in front of George Gray at The Price is Right,
yeah.
I'd say, join us tomorrow morning, 8:05, the coverage right here on WSMS TV. And he's looking at me like, holy mackerel, this guy, what kind of TV thing is this?
Well,
it's a one little room with one camera and one microphone. And one clip-on mic if it works.
Well, I know how you feel. We've got two cameras. We got two cameras.
Oh, this is great compared to what we
got
had
two
over
cameras.
there.
We've got two cameras, a backdrop, and a dream. That's it. A Puerto Rican kid, two cameras, a backdrop, and a dream.
There was a news program a couple of weeks ago it was on the news. Channel 2 covered it. And I'm forgetting the district I can't think of the district that it's in. It's a high school, and they have a studio there, and this studio has everything. Switchers,
wow.
Cameras, teleprompters, you name it. Mm-hmm. And they had done this program about 20 years ago when Jim Jensen was the anchor at Channel 2, so that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they did a follow-up
mm-hmm.
on it, and they're still doing it. They're still in operation, and I can't think of the name of the district. This was on a couple of weeks ago. It's probably on Channel 2's website, and I'm looking at it, and oh my God, I would have killed. I might not have retired. That might have kept me. They were asking me, please don't retire, stick around another year. If they had a set like that,
you wouldn't leave.
I might still be there. And if I was like doing that, like even half the amount of hours that I was there, half time, I'd probably still be there.
Now that actually leads me to another question. How you seem to have this innate broadcaster inside you, yet you were administrator for so long. How come? When did you discover that you actually were good at this?
Well, thank you for saying that. I don't know if I'm that good. If I were
you're better than I am. I'll tell you that.
If I were really doing this, the people would probably say, "Well, I like the way you did this and that, but you have to work on this, and this, and all that." I think from teaching, being in front of people, and organizing a class, preparing a class, preparing about what you're going to talk about. And a speaking voice, work on your speaking voice. I think a lot of the things that I do at church also, because I've been in front of congregations, either doing a reading or talking about like fundraising, because I did a lot of fundraising for them. I think that all helps.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm a bit of a television junkie, so I'll watch things and I'll get some ideas from it. I don't watch a lot of drama programs, comedy programs. I mean, right now I'm pretty boring. I watch the news. I watch The Price is Right.
This is self-admitted, by the way.
Yeah,
let's just put it that way.
And right now I'm watching a whole bunch of old baseball games from SNY waiting for spring training. I'm not a football watcher. I don't watch basketball so much. I hockey a little bit.
Yeah.
I think hockey's more of an interesting sport than football.
I can attest to that.
But I'm waiting for spring training. But I watch that and I get ideas from it.
Well, no.
And then when we started doing that 5 years ago, I already had a plan.
Well, that's the thing. When you want to be a broadcaster, when you're interested in it, that's actually the first place you go to. For example, if anyone didn't know this by now, I picked up a lot from David Letterman, of course. And
of course.
I mean, just look at this for goodness' sake, But when you delve yourself into it.
I actually think you're more the Joe Franklin guy. No.
No, come on. Now get out.
Joe Franklin was a sleeper.
Get out of here.
I put him on at 2 o'clock in the morning on Channel 9 when I'm trying to sleep. He goes, "Oh, it's a Joe Franklin. Now let's stay there. Next guest. and I'm like this in front of the TV.
It's either that or I'm Bob Salter.
And it's another one.
These are references that are going over their heads, by the way.
I'd wake up to sermonette the next morning.
For anyone who doesn't know, Bob Salter is the public address broadcaster for WFAN in the morning, 6 to 7:30 during football season, and 6 to 8 during every other time. And it's on Sundays, and this man has probably one of the softest voices you could find. So if you're up on a Sunday morning,
but it fits for Sunday morning.
Well, no, of course. I mean,
Right.
that's if you're trying to go back to sleep.
Right.
So I mean, we have a nice discussion here on our program, WFAN Sports Radio 66. And if you're listening to it, for goodness sake, you have to drive in.
I'm on the Staten Island Expressway driving the Holy Innocents in Brooklyn at that hour, and I've got this thing on, and he goes, "This is very interesting discussion that we're having here." And I'm like this now. It's already early in the morning.
Yeah.
I've already had a cup of coffee. Maybe I'm on my second one, and I'm driving, and I'm like, and I feel like my eyes closing, and
It's just so relaxing.
Thank God I've gotten there every time. And one time, whatever they were talking about, I called in.
Yeah.
And now I'm on the radio talking to this guy. I'm driving. I remember exactly where I was on the Staten Island Expressway. I made sure I turned the radio down because they're on like a 15, 20 second delay, and I'm on the phone. That was probably the most I was ever awake because I had to be awake. I was on the radio.
And you were driving.
And he had me on for about 2 minutes or so, which is pretty long.
Yeah, usually he seems to let the people talk. In the rare instance that he lets people talk.
Yeah.
I've heard that program enough. See, the thing, I don't listen to the program primarily to actually hear what's going on. I listen to the program primarily because it puts me to sleep. No disrespect to Bob Salter, he's a fantastic broadcaster. I listened to his actual interviews.
And he's a professor of some kind of.
Yeah, he's a professor, I think, in media. Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, he's very, very good.
Yeah, he
very
knows
good.
what he's doing.
Yeah, but it's just his voice puts me to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness gracious. But speaking of voices, I wanted to ask you. You seem to have this very distinct announcing voice, considering that you are the announcer for this program, the program that you are currently a guest on. Don't know if you knew that.
Haven't gotten any money for it yet. I don't even get a residual?
No.
Nothing. Low budget.
Yeah.
That's all right. I didn't get any money in WSMS.
This is the definition of bottom of the barrel. Let's put it that way. This is talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I hope you have the camera on me when you're saying bottom of the barrel. Here I am, bottom of the barrel.
But you seem to do, when you do the voice, at least for this program, you seem to add a little more showmanship to it. Why is that?
Everybody had their own little style
Mm-hmm.
when they announced the host.
Yeah.
I mean, go back to Ed McMahon
Mm-hmm.
and
Don Pardo.
Don Pardo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Don Pardo had a very kind of like a rat-tat-tat kind of a
Yeah.
voice,
That's an interesting way to describe it, actually. Yeah.
And who's the announcer for David Letterman?
Alan Coulter.
Alan Coulter.
Well, before it was Bill Wendell.
That's straight.
Bill
That's
Wendell.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, now I kind of modeled it maybe a little bit more after them.
Yeah.
I mean, Ed McMahon was Here's Johnny, Hey-O, and all of that stuff. I wanted to give you a little bit of a pizzazz. And you have a name, maybe because of that double R in your last name. You have a last name that lends itself to that. And I don't remember when I came up with it. I was in my office back at Shell School, and you came over with a tape recorder, and we did a voice. Basically, we recorded a voiceover.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first came up with it, but it was just on the spot. On the spot.
Yeah.
Johnluke, Chaparro. And
then what you started to do was you started to emphasize my first name too, because I know I came a couple times to actually do it with you more than once, and you would, instead of just doing the last name, you would actually go into your shtick on my first name too. Johnluke Chaparro.
Johnluke Chaparro. I just. What am I going to say? Johnluke Chaparro?
No.
Who cares about? I mean, we got to give it a little.
And
we didn't do that on SMS.
No.
I mean, it didn't lend itself.
Well,
to that,
no, it didn't. The opportunity didn't open.
It's morning announcements, and maybe I, I could have done something like that, woke everybody up.
Yeah, no, of
But
course,
I mean,
maybe
in a pleasant
productivity
good
would have
morning,
increased.
and give them the weather, and try to sound cheery, and try to try to send people off on a good note in the morning. But at night, we could be a little
No,
more
of course, we
vocal.
could goof around a little bit like we're doing here.
Like we're doing here, yeah.
No,
And getting paid the money that we're doing here.
Yes, that's right. Look at all this money I have
See
in
the
my
money
hand.
falling from the sky here?
Yes, this is the residuals coming in.
Yeah, the residuals
yes.
coming in.
Yes, that's right. I wanted to say
They
that.
may pay us money to shut up already.
No, I'm sure they'll do that.
No,
I'm sure they'll do that. Anyone of importance finds us out, they're gonna shut it down. Shut it down. That's it. Close it up. I was gonna say when you did that for the first time, because I remember I came to you and the name of this very program was still Primetime Perth Amboy, and I came to you and we did it and I put it on, I edited it together, and people were asking me, was that you doing the voice? Was that you? Like, who the hell is that? I said, no, that's my friend Dr.Cresci, vice principal of the show. So he was like, wow, he has a really good voice. Like, I said, where's he from? I said, he's from Brooklyn. I said, oh yeah, you can totally hear it. He has a really good voice. I said, well, yeah, I mean, the guy does a morning announcement program. He does nothing else. Of course he's going to, practice that. What else is he going to do in his office besides yell at children?
I tell you, I used to practice the shtick in the car.
No kidding.
A lot. Yeah, I used
Really?
to practice it. I mean, I have a CD. You know this.
Yes.
I have a CD of the SNY music, both the short music and the longer music, and I'd have it running in the car, and I would just practice doing it, or I would think of something that I would want to say for a future program, and laugh about it and all that. I mean, people would say, "Wow, that's great how you just thought about that and said that off the cuff." No, there's planning that goes into that.
No, of course.
It's not. Some of a lot of it's off the cuff, but not all of it.
No, of course. Well, especially as broadcasters, if you're gonna, the one thing that as a broadcaster is essential. This is an essential tool. Is that, and this is what I learned when I did the morning announcement program at the high school. Is that when you're gonna have something there for you, but a good broadcaster takes what he can, quick off his feet, and work with it. So. It's always good to kind of have that when you're when you're thinking about it, or you have the process going on in your head where you're, like what you do, you're with your shtick and you're thinking about it, what you're going to say, and it's in your head, and then you say and you prepare it, and it sounds like you planned it, but you just came off the top of your head. That's that you essentially have the skill of a broadcaster inside of a vice principal's mind.
I'm going to give you what I think was the definitive off the cuff that was not planned at all.
Okay.
I'm going to go back about 3 or 4 years. We're on the set at WSMS. We're doing the morning announcements.
Yeah.
Mike Heidelberg had just been hired as vice principal. And he had asked me, he said, if it's all right with you, I'd like to come on and say hello to everybody. And I said, yeah, I think that's a great idea. So we had a situation, a desk with 2 people that would sit at it, me and the student who was doing the announcements and the pledge to the flag. And we would do what I would call the switcheroo. We'd turn the camera to me and I'd say something, and the student would unclip a mic, and the guest person would come in and put the clip mic back on, and then the camera would pan to the right, and there you go. We call that the switcheroo. So we did one of these switcheroos one morning, and Mike Heidelberg sat next to me. Now, the principal at the time was Lorraine Morgan.
Oh, right. Name drop again?
Name drop again. The principal at that time was Lorraine. And she hears us on the air. So she decides she wants to come on the air. Okay. And in fact, I'm hearing clop, 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 clop outside the studio. People in the classroom couldn't hear that, but I heard it. So she comes in, and so I gave her the moniker general manager.
General manager, yep.
Yeah. So she came in, I would introduce her, and I'd say, the general manager of WSMS TV. So she stood in the background, and she said whatever she said. I gave her the stick mic, and she said whatever she said, totally unplanned, and she knocked into the backdrop, and we had on our set, we had WSMS TV. We had 2 boards that said that. She knocked into that, both boards fell to the ground, crash, boom, we're still on the air. I could hear the kids in classrooms laughing. So I said something like to the effect, I said, well, you've heard of the old saying, somebody bringing down the house? Well, Dr. Morgan here just brought down the set. And that about does it for our broadcast this morning. It's like you hear the whole school laughing. You go off the air. Heidelberg says to me, "You're good." I never would have thought to say that. You're good. It just happened.
My goodness.
It was basically reminded me of
your inner comment.
Casey Stengel.
Yes.
Was the first ever guest
of Kiner's Corner.
Mm-hmm. And he had a lavalier mic on, and he forgot to take off his lavalier mic, walked away from the set, and brought the set down.
Literally.
I know it was a story that Ralph Kiner talked about quite a number of times on the air. I don't remember it. I didn't see it.
But it happened.
And I know we mentioned, that's what that made me think of. So that comment was totally off the cuff.
Oh, that's a fantastic story. Before we go, Dr. Cresci, I wanted to ask you, being a fellow broadcaster, I guess that's what you can call this. Wanted to ask your opinion on this. You're familiar with Stephen Colbert, correctly?
Yes.
Correctly. Listen, you see, it's 10 in the morning. I can't even speak properly. I'm sorry. You remember correctly, right? Stephen Colbert just left his show yesterday, and Craig Ferguson is leaving his show today.
Right.
And also, David Letterman is retiring, and he's leaving on May 20th. Stephen Colbert's taken over, and someone else is taking over Ferguson's spot. What do you think is going to happen, or what do you think is going to happen with that show? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think it'll be good? Do you think it'll be bad? Do you think things will change, considering now that
let's go back to '92.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Carson left the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
Almost the same date that Letterman's leaving, which I find interesting.
Yeah, it would be Carson left
May
22nd, and Leno started Memorial Day 1992. I remember that because, well, I don't know, I wasn't alive for it, but I was reading that Helen Kushnick, his agent, wanted to put an ad in for USA Today, a full-page ad, but the NBC was running ads for Carson, and the newspaper wasn't running over the holiday. So it was just, she had a very infamous spat with them. But yeah, he started on Memorial Day '92.
Right.
He had retired the weekend prior.
Right, I remember that. You're right. And I remember. Now, when Carson's show ended, and I still think Johnny Carson is.
Of course. He's the gold standard, even to this
day. I just can't see anybody. No. And I remember Jack Parr on The Tonight Show. I don't remember Steve Allen.
Well, the critics were saying when Parr retired and Carson took over, people were saying, "Oh, this Carson guy's never going to be as good as Jack Parr."
Oh, right.
Because Johnny Carson just come off doing Who Do You Trust? Who Do You Trust on ABC, and he was still kind of raw, taking on this mammoth Tonight Show kind of thing. It was still kind of experiment, but the guy did it for 30 years, and he knocked it out of the ballpark every single day.
Oh yeah. I mean, I talk about off the cuff.
Oh yeah.
There were times. There's some things on YouTube where the jokes are not working, and then sometimes they were the best monologue.
Attention, Kmart shoppers.
That was one that would do all that stuff, and made everything funny. Now he maybe yelled at the writers later.
Yeah.
Give me some better stuff. I saved you tonight. But, but anyway, to answer your question. When Letterman took over, the show changed, but the show had to change because you can't be a cookie cutter.
No. Yeah.
You can't just be a copy because it's not everybody's got different personality, and if you try to just copy something and have a cookie cutter show, it's going to come across that way.
Yeah.
So I would see this show changing. Now, look at the Tonight Show now with Jimmy Fallon. I think he's doing a really great job.
No, I think he's doing a fantastic job. He's taken the thing with.
He came in the first night. He paid homage to Johnny Carson.
No, of course, that was important.
Which he should do.
Which is funny you say that, because when Leno started, this was in the book The Late Shift, written by Bill Carter. Fantastic book, by the way, if you want to really get into the whole dynamic of what happened. I've read it 4 or 5 times over.
Oh.
But
you'll have to loan it to me. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Bob Wright, the president of NBC at the time, was going to ask Jay, or his agent Helen Kushnick, so what are you going to do to pay homage to Johnny? Mind you, he just finished 30 years of television greatness. The guy was the gold standard of everything in late night, and they say, no, we're not doing anything for him. Apparently that comes from that comes from the animosity between the two people, because Jay Leno used to guest host, and they still had the same staffers from the Carson era.
Right.
So she would muscle her way in and try and force her way while the Carson people were trying to do their own thing. Mind you, Jay is just guest hosting. But now
Right.
that he has the show, there was kind of animosity between the two.
Yeah, the politics.
Yeah, the politics came in, and we all know the story about what happened with Leno and
Well,
Letterman. And
look at Price is Right.
Mhm.
You had Bob Barker on there for 38 years, something
Mhm.
like that. He was in television for over 50.
Mhm.
The best, in my opinion, the best host, game show host.
Oh, of course. Why not?
Just knows how to explain everything. I mean, the best. You had Drew Carey. Drew Carey, when he started, was really rough around the edges.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I don't think he was good
I
at all.
saw his first
I think he's
episode.
gotten better.
Oh yeah.
But he's still not Bob Barker. But he's a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they've changed that. The format of Price is Right has stayed the same, but they've done different
To
things
suit
that
him.
they didn't do when Bob Barker was the
Mhm.
host.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think the show's better than ever.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
could see the same thing happening with the Tonight Show. One thing they did on Price is Right a couple of years ago. It was on April 1st, April Fool's Day.
Oh, they did the switcheroo where Craig Ferguson hosted The Price is Right.
No.
And then Drew
No,
Carey
I didn't
hosted-
see that.
That was actually a good episode.
Carey comes out. Drew Carey gets announced by George Gray.
George Gray.
He comes out. Gwendolyn Osborne Smith, one of the models,
Mm-hmm.
comes walking out and, as usual, hands him the mic. But she hands him the mic, but then she pulls the mic back. And he says, "What's going on?" Of course, this is all,
Yeah.
it's not off the cuff. And he says, "What's going on?" And she says, "Well, being that it's April 1st, I'm paraphrasing, of course, we are taking over. The models are going to host the show, and you and George are going to put on heels, and you guys are going to model." So for the rest of the show, one of the models was the host. Another one of the models
Was the announcer.
was the announcer, and they had 3 models that day, and they switched back and forth and all of that stuff. And George Gray and Drew Carey were the models on that. It had the show.
Yeah.
But it was hilarious. Bob Barker would have never
No,
done.
'cause
No,
to
this
take-
is my show.
Yeah.
I'm the executive producer. I host the show.
Mm-hmm.
I-
Nor would he let anyone else host it, because they did a thing. It was they filmed. I think it was also an April Fool's thing they did this year, where Craig Ferguson and Drew Carey, obviously they're good friends because they worked on a Drew Carey show. Drew Carey would host the Late Late Show at 12:30 on the CBS, and then the following day, I mean, they pre-taped it.
Yeah, even though the studios
yeah.
are basically down the hall. from
Yeah,
one
exactly. Craig Ferguson would host The Price is Right. And I'll tell you what, that man is versatile, Craig Ferguson. He can not only do a comedy show off the cuff, that whole show he does is pretty much off the top of his head. It's brilliance. He can do that, and he's actually a really good game show host. He is. Tremendous game show host, and tremendous writer, too. But he was he had the robot skeleton as his as a sidekick. He had actually Shadow Stevens as his announcer, because that's his announcer on the show. And he had the pantomime horse secretariat as a model, too. It's 2 guys in a horse costume dancing around like
I mean,
that.
you could have a lot of fun, if the egos aren't
Oh,
there.
yeah.
And the other things they've done on that show, like they'll import, they've gotten a couple of people from the soap operas to come in and help out. Like they have Melissa Ordway from The Young and the Restless that comes in, that other girl, Carla Mosley, and they have them coming in do modeling. They have they had a male model, now they just got another male model this week, I think he started. And, the show's changed.
Yeah.
It would not have happened under
No,
Bob Barker. No way. But the personalities are different. So that's where I see, like, the Tonight Show going the same way. Just the
Late Show.
Late Show.
I
see that going the same
I
way.
have faith, because I'm a big fan of Stephen Colbert. I mean, because he played a character for 9 years, as a right-wing blowhard pundit. It was satire, of course, but I'm familiar with his work outside of it, and the man is still very funny. He's very, very witty. Kind of, he is like Letterman, except a little nicer. But he has his own different, and I'm actually eager to see that. But Dr. Cresci, it's been a pleasure. Thank you
It's been
so
a pleasure,
much.
and nice to be
Yes.
back on the air again
Yes.
with you. And
Only took you about 4 years to come back.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope everybody has a
Yes.
wonderful holiday season, and look forward to a very successful and healthy 2015. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Yes. Thank you for this handshake. I'm gonna have to pay for that.
Okay.
I hope I don't.
I won't wash this hand
Yeah.
ever.
Oh, stop it. We're gonna take a commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.